Hey everybody, welcome back to Variant Intel. I believe this is episode 20. We skipped last week. There was some, it's kind of the first time the show's taken a break due to some just scheduling conflicts and things. No big deal. But we're back this week, and our special guest this week is none other than Shots Will Fire. Shots, how are you doing today?
Pretty good. Yourself?
Yeah, man, I'm excited to finally get you on the show. I know, uh, between different requests and me scouting out for people that are available and trying to line up schedules, it gets pretty busy. But I am gonna be, like I announced earlier, trying to do two a week if I can. Last week again was very busy, but we're back at it, and yeah. So, Shots, tell us, for the community and new members that may not, had a chance to play Deadrop with you or interact with you, what's your background, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
So, I mean, Dead Drop is really the first game I've played at this level of competition, especially
Mhm.
with it being this early. And it's actually what got me started with streaming. I had never streamed before Dead Drop, and
Okay.
the main sources that got me into that were I watched you a little bit, I watched Mare, and then I found Cairo in game, and then it spirals from there. But gaming wise, I mean, I've played just about everything you can. I've gone all the way back to Pong. I've played, the original Zelda games. I've done COD
Nice.
for years. I mean, I've hit every genre. So,
That's awesome, man. All right, so Dead Drop. So, did you get your variants like when they first came out, or did you get it later on, or?
so with that, I got the email to as like, oh, you were selected. Come get your variant.
Yeah.
And I was at work when I got the email.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got home, I opened it up and it said they were gone. I couldn't get it. So
Whoa.
I
They were
didn't get
minted that
mine.
fast?
Yep. I didn't get
Whoa.
mine until, Snapshot 5. That was when I decided I had been watching along the whole time, but Snapshot 5 was when I was like, "I don't have a choice. I've been committed to this like this long. I'm getting in."
That's cool, man. That's crazy because so I got the email, and I think like, cause I think we got it what, like a day before you could mint or something like that, or I don't remember if it was the day of. I can't. It was, that was last year, but I just remember getting it and minting it like immediately. So it's crazy to hear that actually, if you missed it by even a few hours, it went that fast. Like wow, that's news to me. I didn't know that.
Yeah, that it I I was a little disappointed when I got in there and realized it was too late for me to get one.
Oh
I was upset
man.
with myself on it. I was like, "Man, I should have just, told him I was gonna dip outside for a minute and done it then and there." But,
Yeah.
I'm good with it now. I've got mine. I'm happy. So,
No, that's cool, man. Well, we're glad to have you, of course, and it's super cool because, I mean, like, obviously, for the listeners out there, look, if you're still trying to, if you're considering getting a founder's pass and getting the NFT, like, you can buy them secondhand on OpenSea. They're definitely not cheap, and they're only going to get more expensive, unfortunately, but that's just the nature of things. And of course, this is not financial advice, so any of the lawyers out there, the suits, y'all catch this. I am not. This is, I'm not providing any financial advice to anybody. I always encourage do your own research. And but yeah, they're out there. They are available. There are people looking to make a quick buck. So just be forewarned. They're not cheap. But for those that do get into it and want to become a founder and a variant, there's some amazing perks. And of course, um, with or without the variant, the Dead Drop community is bar none one of the best I've ever been a part of. Shots, I'm sure you could attribute to that. Yeah.
oh, by far, this community has been nothing but fantastic. So, I'm extremely happy and I feel privileged to be a part of it. So,
I echo that sentiment, man. I really think, especially doing this show and having community members on, not only has it been great to kind of foster what the show is becoming for the community and just be a part of it. And thank you to all the watchers and listeners out there for supporting the content. It means the world. But like you said, it really does feel like a privilege because through doing this, I've gotten to meet so many different community members that maybe I missed at the live event, or just maybe I got to know them a little bit better. And yeah, I can say without hesitation, like, y'all, I tell people every episode at this point, like, join the Discord, get involved. even if you're not ready to, buy a founder's pass and you're going to wait until it's like public access, just being involved in the Discord and everyone's so welcoming. It's just a lot of fun. So, like Shot said, it's you get this real sense of uh, you know, belonging, right?
Yeah.
So, it is really cool. And so speaking of community, I don't think anything crazy happened the last couple of days, did it? I mean, what did they didn't like reveal anything new, right?
Oh, no, nothing at all. Nothing going on in October.
All right, so here's the deal. So back on the AMA, which Midnight Society just released this on their YouTube, but this AMA was done a couple weeks ago, or like 3 weeks ago. It was an AMA with Robert Bowling, studio head of Midnight Society, and he answered a myriad of questions. One of them, which was my question, right? I'm taking full credit for this. It was my question. I asked, "Will there
Yep.
be a live event for Snapshot 7?" I specifically asked that question, and Rob answered with nothing more than the statement 92. And that's all he said. So the AMA, actually, now I remember, the AMA was on July 20th, I believe. And the reason I know that is because after he said 92, it didn't take me and a few other community members long to figure out he meant 92 days, like from the time of that AMA, which lines up perfectly with Friday, October 20th, right? So we had teased to us the date for the event. We knew nothing else, and it wasn't official at that point. But then, like a week or two later, so this has been about a week or so ago at this point, Midnight Society in the Discord put out a video basically saying October 20th, see you in Vegas or whatever, right? So we knew the location, and the location was teased also, and it's really interesting, and we can talk about this later. But it's just so happens to be at the same time as TwitchCon, right? So not only is it in the same day, but it's in the same town, or city. Now, fast forward to present day, we still didn't really know the venue, right? We were still speculating on the venue. Now, about a week and a half ago, I did my midweek episode of Variant Intel with Marks and Rec. Shout out to Marks and Rec, because we had a conversation about this, and we speculated and tried to guess, like, where do we think it could possibly be? And Mark's prediction was 100% spot on, and the prediction was the HyperX Arena at the Luxor. And the reason, our reasoning behind that guess was that amongst all the convention centers and other venues in Vegas, the HyperX Arena is quite literally set up with all the PCs, the stage, just like the Optic Arena at the Snapshot 5 event, right? So it was a good guess, because, if you're going to spend marketing dollars to put on a big event like that, what's easier? Figure out something with HyperX Arena or set up 100 PCs at another place, right? So, and as of yesterday, that is what was revealed. We had the announcement go out. Shots, help me out here. What was the actual thing that came out?
Um, I know Midnight Society put out a tweet that said, "Get ready, October 20th. See you in Vegas." Doc retweeted it shortly after,
Mm-hmm.
and then later on in the day, we got emails that went out that said tickets would go live today for founders,
Yep.
and
And
I
then
made
that's
sure to
the one
snag
that
mine.
said, yeah, that's the one that said HyperX Arena on it. So that was the
Yeah.
confirmation of the venue.
Yep.
Fun fact, I literally, and I'm not kidding, I like 30 minutes before those emails went out, and maybe even the tweet, I'm not sure, because the email came out very shortly after the tweet did. But like 30 minutes before all that happened, I had just got off the phone with the Luxor booking my room. so
Nice.
so because I was with Marks, I was like, with every piece of data I could possibly conjure, like the HyperX Arena makes the most sense. And even if it ends up not being that one, Vegas is, everything's within 10 minutes. So it wouldn't have really mattered in the end. So I just said, hey, I'm going to call up Luxor, book my hotel, get it locked in. And then 30 minutes later, boom, HyperX Arena. I was like, yeah, I was so
Yeah.
excited. I was like, yes. So you're going, right?
Absolutely. I got my ticket the second the site went live this morning.
Yep, same here. I secured that. You know, all that's left for me now is to book the flight, which I'll be doing in the next few days probably. And yeah, man, I am so pumped. Now you did not get to go to Snapshot 5, is that correct? Or were you
I
there?
didn't. I
You
did
didn't.
not.
Okay. Was that just like a logistics timing thing or
Pretty much. At the time I had a relatively new job. I couldn't, just take days off out of nowhere
yeah.
because we had a lot shorter of a notice for that one.
Yeah, we
And
did. Yeah, it was only like a month, I think, or a few weeks.
I want to say it was just over a month. I
Yeah,
want to say it was
like
like a month and a half, maybe.
yeah, it was pretty fast. So shout out to Midnight Society for giving a little bit more of a leeway this time. That's why, like, when Rob hinted at 92 days, I immediately started talking on social media, variant intel everywhere I could. I was like, guys, look, guys, just start saving up all the space dust now, because if I'm right, if that's what he meant, then this is the day, and you better start preparing. And I think a lot of people caught on to that and started planning. So if I did help push that message, then I'm happy. So
Oh yeah, definitely. And I don't know what else Rob would have meant by 92
there
if that
wasn't
wasn't
anything else.
nailing
I
nailing a
read it
date.
was so deliberate. And then look, as soon as like I think it was me and Spaceman and a few other people were like, all right, if it's 92 days, we started being like flipping through the calendar, like what day does that land on, and then we figured out that it was the same day as TwitchCon. And we're like, this is it. This is what it means. Like it has to be. Like we
Yeah.
just like tinfoil hat, like engaged. So it was kind of fun because I was like, man, that'd be so cool, and like what an interesting day to pick too, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's fun. It's like this. It's not like full blown controversy, but it's like a fun little poke, you know.
Yeah. I mean,
But oh, go ahead.
we got the Deadrop event, we got TwitchCon, we got KickCon, and there's gonna be so many people there already.
So KickCon. So I was watching Big E on Kick, and he interviewed Paulie, the man, like product. He's the main product guy at Kick, and they still have not confirmed KickCon.
Okay.
I guess they're still and I'm glad you mentioned this because a lot of people were under the assumption that it would be happening. They are basically still saying that they want to do it, but it's like a lot of logistics, money, things like that. So I wouldn't personally be surprised if they wait till next year, but who knows, man? Look, Kick, when it comes to the Kick and Twitch rivalry, it's a big one. It's
Yeah.
huge. So I wouldn't be surprised if they also try to show up. And if they do, great, because I know there's a lot of dead drop people that are going to be going for like 4 or 5 days. So they're going to be doing. Some people are going to be doing TwitchCon like after the dead drop event. Some people are going to be just enjoying Vegas, those kinds of things. So, um, yeah, man, what a crazy. I'm just excited. So switching gears a little bit, let's talk about and I've been doing this and I'm probably going to keep doing it, but let's talk some Snapshot 7 predictions. So and I know we've done this on like the Twitter Spaces and stuff like that, but we now know for sure like the car is coming. Like they have teased it so many times. Like what do you think the car mechanic is going to be? That's a big question mark for everybody.
So I'm fairly certain I have it like locked down on what it's gonna be. I mean, I
Oh,
I could be wrong. There's
all
always
right.
that chance, but
Okay.
I remember quite a while back, and I don't think the VOD is there anymore, but I swear Doc said on stream one time the idea of driving to get to the match.
Right.
And since then, when I did my video decoding the comics and everything with Spaceman, we broke down what each one said, and all the ones with the cars seemed to allude to racing from your hideout to the tower. And the way I've gone with that is it's going to be like a Mad Max death race style thing where you're leaving the hideout, getting in your car, and you're racing to the tower. And whichever path you take is going to determine what sector you deploy into.
Oh, wow. That would be something. Okay. That's cool. So just like kind of elaborating on that a little bit, if the mechanic ends up being get in your car from the hideout to drive to the tower, like from a game engineering and like loading into the map, pre-lobby ideal, I wonder how that will operate because I don't know of any other games we could compare it to. It sounds like a completely new idea, if that's indeed what it is. How do you think that would work?
Um, I mean, that's the question right now, isn't it? Like like you said, it's not really something that's been done before. Every time we have vehicles in a game like this, it's, you get in your vehicle and you drive around the map, or, you get in your helicopter and fly around the map. There's no actual mechanic to it other than just controlling it and moving, traversing, versus this actually, if it works this way, having an impact on where you start the match and, you know, going from there. And we're gonna have to see how the car parts that they have for us to loot play into that too. Will that affect how, how the race to the tower goes? What will we be able to change and customize?
Yeah.
A lot of it's just speculation at this point.
That those are all really great questions. I also wonder like if we're racing to get to the tower, are we going to encounter other people on the road? That's a big question. And then if we do, like, can we destroy their car? Can we like kill each other on the road? Have a coincidence, like, like what? How does that work? Does it like because obviously no one wants to die before they even get into the match. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
So
no.
so like, and then if you do, so I wonder like in that scenario what the point would be of like um running into other players. Now on the flip side of that, if we're just going to drive to the tower and we're not going to encounter other players in the pre-lobby or whatever this is, then what's the point of doing that at all? If we're, you know what I mean? Like just to like pick where we spawn in the match, that doesn't seem like enough of a reason to introduce this new said mechanic, right? So man, I'm really curious if we're going to get any teasers leading up to it. I'm sure we probably will. Because like, again, this is like a new mechanic and my brain's just trying to make sense of like what the hell is it? Like like what are we going to do with this car? And then like you said, the car parts and like they've heavily alluded to like customizing the car and as, maybe it's just cosmetic. Maybe it's like boosting the horsepower, but then again, you start doing that, you have to ask, well, why do that? What does that mean? They've done a good job at keeping this one a secret. So I'm really hoping that they, like Snapshot 6, start to tease features leading up to the release, right?
Yeah. And then with like with how we've seen Sector 3 set up and we're seeing Proving Grounds 2 set up, to me, it only makes sense that whatever the gameplay loop for the car is, it takes place outside the tower.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way we're getting cars on either one of those maps.
No,
It's just
no, the
not.
geometry isn't doesn't lend itself to that. So I agree. So dang, man, we're gonna be driving around the existence. Yeah, I can't help but think like, man, if if we I hope if we get the car, we can encounter other players, have some kind of death race style thing going on. But then it's like, what's the meta of that? Like, what's the point? What do you gain from it? What's the purpose? And does it provide you any advantage loading into the match? And is that balanced if there's one? So I think it just really promotes a lot of questions. I think we're just gonna need more details of some kind before we can really get into some kind of fair speculation,
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So, what about so the car obviously is like a big headline feature that they're gonna have. What other big things, because they're putting money behind this. This is a big reveal. When they do a live event, I mean, that's got to cost, I mean, hundreds of thousands of dollars, potentially even more, just to set the space up. Work with advertisers. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of money going into this. So the car won't be the only thing. What else do you think they're going to be bringing with this snapshot?
I think we're gonna get the updated version of the new map for Proving Ground 2, and I think
Sure.
it's gonna move away from being a Proving Ground. I think we're gonna get the sector shutdown mechanic on there. We
Hmm.
might start to see, I know Rob was talking about in the AMA different versions of the cleaners. Maybe we'll get a
Oh,
new version on that map because I know he was saying with it being a more residential looking area, maybe it's not the same mechanic for the cleaners entirely where, they're ex as aggressive and they'll be after you for your loot. Maybe they're more restricted to these areas, maybe they're less aggressive. I mean, there's a lot of things we can see, and with that, I think we're also going to see, hopefully, the first iteration of the sector to sector gameplay. Because
that's yeah.
if that
Hmm.
becomes a sector in this next snapshot, I don't see how they have them both in there without having the first phase to test that new mechanic.
Yeah. So, for the viewers listening, so Deadrop has been touted from the beginning as a game that will have this massive tower with more than likely 7 different sectors, but their vision, unlike a lot of battle royales where you drop into this big map, we have sectors that will be interconnected, and they all play like an individual map in themselves, but in the end they will all be interconnected. So the idea is that instead of dropping into just cold storage for a match or just sector 2 for just a match, the idea once it's all finished is that you will drop into the tower and work your way through all the sectors, and they'll all have their different shutdown mechanics and everything else, and that is one match. So I really hope we get to see the first iteration of that, because to your point, if we have like a finished enough version of Sector 2 and it's connected with Sector 3, and now we're driving outside with the car, and we can move freely in between the sectors via who knows what mechanics, whether it be zip lines or a megalift or some sneaky duct work, which would be pretty cool. I really hope we get that. Just because that's, to me, one of the big, like, what do you call it? Um, one of the big like pillars of what Dead is supposed to be, right? So I think yeah, a live event for 7 would be a good way to showcase. Okay, guys, we've been working on this for like a year and a half. This is what the game really looks like in the concept of it all, right? Because right now we've had blocky textured pre-alpha maps and introduction to what a sector could be, but the full vision of how the gameplay loop is supposed to work is yet to be realized. That's a lot of things that I think people miss. The gunplay and the movement is a lot of fun right now for a lot of players. For how early of a game this is, it gets all the high praises as it should. But we are nowhere near finished. And yeah, I could see it being the case that for 7, I think that's a good time to, if they're to that point, all right, this is the true gameplay loop of what Deadrop is. Interconnected sectors that you drop into. So at any given match, you could be moving between them, and then fast forward a year or two, when you have 7 sectors to drop into for one match, like, and maybe 100 people, like, what? What do you think that looks like, man? That's
Oh man, that's gonna be nuts. I mean,
These sectors
because
are not small, by the way.
no, not by any means. And the fact that they've mentioned, the thought of having 100 players spread throughout the entire tower. If we're talking 7 sectors, I mean, we're putting over 10 people per sector. And right now, I mean, we're not getting that. But
Yeah.
so that I feel like that's a solid point for it, 10 to 15 people per sector isn't a bad number by any means if it's 100 people in a match, and I think it's just going to depend on how each sector shuts down
Mhm.
as you progress further and move between sectors to see if that's too many people or if they have to find a way to cut things off quicker in order to make the dead drop mechanic even still relevant.
Yeah. And the dead drop, and this is, I want to talk about this and get your opinion. So I was a couple nights ago when they did actually it was for your event, your
Yep.
community event. You probably heard me talking about this. I said, so dead drop is cool because it's a multifaceted ideal, right? You have the battle royale type mechanic, right? you can kill everybody in the lobby and get the number one, place first and get a dead drop, which the dead drop mechanic is unique to dead drop, and that's really awesome. But you also have the more casual side that plays it a little bit like Tarkov, where there's some cool loot in the world, right? And that's where you get the relevance of the extraction, in my personal opinion. But I was so as on the more casual side of the fence for me, I was saying that like for me, my biggest question is if not for the loot, what would be the point of having an extraction at all? You know, like, and I don't, and I mean, just real quick, what's your answer to that before I continue?
And I did hear you talking about that the other night, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm on the same page as you. There
Mm-hmm.
has to be a value to the extractions,
Mm-hmm.
otherwise we're just playing a battle royale with an
Right.
early exit option.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that does come from the loot, and the loot has to hold value. And a
Mm-hmm.
lot of what I, in my personal opinion, see for that is things like quests that we may get in the future. Like, say we get Space Bob and he wants you to bring him 5 obelisks. Well, now it makes it worth extracting if you find an obelisk.
Right.
Because currently,
Mm-hmm.
the only thing the items are good for is space dust and collecting them.
Right.
And I think as we see the loot pool expand and we get some tasks and things such as that, I think that's when we're going to start to see the extraction shooter really come out in the game.
Yeah. So yeah, we were talking about that, and yeah, I'm like, okay, number one, like there has to be a reason to do the extraction at all, um, and so it goes back to loot. So now loot is twofold in my opinion. So for the competitive people that want the dead drop, I think the dead drop needs to be buffed through the roof. Like there needs to be because like take the normal loot pool, and all of what I'm about to say coincides on the competitive and the casual side. The loot pool, in my opinion, needs to be vast. Now, personally, I don't want the game to turn into backpack simulator the way Tarkov is. I think that's like, um, I mean, sure they could do that. I just personally would like it to be like even the way the game is now with how you sort your backpack and customize your weapons. I think is fine. I don't. I mean, it could be like iterated on a little bit more maybe, but generally speaking, it's very simple, and I like the simplicity of it. Like there's a tab. They added the tab section, so if you want to find just weapon parts or just ammo, that's huge. That's a big help. So but I don't want it to be like Backpack Simulator. But what I do want and would like to see is the loot pool just vastly expanded, not only with items, weapons, and content and customizable, what do you call that? Cosmetics. Um, I would like to see them give rarities to things too, because for me, like you said, quests is a great thing. I think they're absolutely working on that. I think that's absolutely
Yeah.
going to be in Dead Drop. There's been a lot of hints at it with Space Bob and whatnot. So, like, yeah, I say let's add the questing, give people a reason to go in the world and look for something and bring it out, but don't, like you mentioned, like get 5 obelisks and bring it to Space Bob. I personally, I would like it to be a little bit more involved than that. And I think you can do that again without making your inventory just super dense and like I said, backpack simulator, right? Um, so questing would be a big one, but then here's the big one that I would like to see is imagine jumping into a match and at any given pardon me, at any given point, you can just find like, yo, it's a sniper rifle, but it's not just any sniper rifle. It has like two or three attachments on it, and one of those attachments is gold, right? And maybe that gold attachment is like a scope with like two different effects on it. Maybe it's a thermal and a 5x hybrid or something, right? Like the idea of that, because now at that point, whether you found it on the floor or you killed somebody and took it out of their bag, now you've created a sense of urgency and you got two choices. You can either take everybody out if you're that good, if you're a cracked player, or or you can try to get the hell out, right? And to me, I'm like, I want the rarities. Like I want so all right, this is pine, this is my copium, right? Or hopium, copium, it's a combo tincture I'm taking right now. Bloop, I'm ready. This is my big brain like thing that like pie in the sky thing if I could have it. This is what I would ask for. So forgive me developers if you're gonna hear this and think good god you're crazy. I get it, it's fine. But like I wouldn't be mad if there was like 1,000 weapons, and all of them had a rarity from like 0 to like level 6 rarity or something, right? Like I did a poll about this on Twitter some time ago, a couple weeks ago, and I basically said, what's the highest rarity that items should be in Deadrop? And the choices were legendary, legendary plus, legendary plus plus, or triple plus. And the poll won out with triple plus. So the majority of people in that poll, now mind you, it was only like 40 something votes, which is a pretty healthy amount considering where we are in the community this early, right? But the majority said triple plus. And to me, that means like legendary, like Diablo has, right? You have legendary, but then you have like 3 or 4 tiers above that. You have like a sacred, unique, and like something else, right? So I'm imagining like, say you have these 1,000 weapons, and that's like everything, like, guns, melee weapons, whatever they want to throw in, rocket launchers, I don't care. And then each one of those could, like CSGO, potentially roll with like some intrinsic perks or something that really makes it stand out. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, what do you think after hearing this? Do you think there would be anything about that would not sound fun, or like, how do you see that in Dead Drop? Do you think something like that could work?
I definitely think something like that could work. I see a place for it in Dead Drop. I see a place for it in just about any extraction shooter. I mean, it just adds to that feeling of, oh my god, I found this. I have to get out with this.
Yeah.
And I mean, to a certain level, that creates what a lot of people just call gear fear. But
Hmm.
I mean, it's a little bit different than like, oh, I'm going into raid with a bunch of my best stuff. I don't want to lose it. It's no, I found this. I may not find this again for an extremely long time, if at all.
Yeah.
I need to get out with it.
Yep.
And, it adds that value, it adds that dopamine to playing the game, and, it's a great feeling when you find something that, like, is super rare and you make it out with it, and now you have it in your stash and you could show it off, and that's where I've come from a lot with, like, wanting more collectibles in the game
Hmm.
because, I know Rob's talked about being able to customize and display stuff in your hideout.
Hmm.
I want that.
Yeah.
Give me 50 collectibles that, have really rare spawns that if you get out with them, you throw it up in your hideout and other people can come look at it. And it's
Yep.
like, oh my God,
Yep.
you have that. Where'd
Behold
you
my
find it?
stuff. Yes. Shout out to OMA. Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. But that's true. I agree 110%, right? Like they've already talked about being able to display like enemy variant visor cortexes, which I think absolutely has to happen because they're going to be super rare come time for the real game to come out. And yeah, like you said, like what if I find this like gold sniper rifle with like all the crazy stuff on it, and it's like, well, I'm probably just gonna put that on the wall because holy crap, and then like people can behold my stuff. Now I will say this, so to balance this, because when I come up with ideas like this, obviously a lot of people will be like, yeah, but helmet, like then no one will ever use it because you could lose it, and I'm like, yeah, so that's where I think that like, so right now the only insurance type mechanic we have is you can tag items, right? Which in its current iteration, I think this is perfect because you can tag the item, which basically says that if you lose it in the match, the cleaners will find it for you and you can recover it, with one exception. And that exception is if somebody else extracts with that item, right? So it's not 100% guaranteed insurance because I agree that 100% insurance makes no sense in an extraction shooter. There has to be risk. Otherwise, what's the point?
Yep.
But to my idea about having those ultra rare things, I think there should be some kind of increased level of insurance for those items specifically. Maybe it's capped at a certain rarity, or if I'll let the devs figure out what makes sense with that if they decide to do something like this. But yeah, if you get that, like I want there to be an incentive to use said item if I find it. Like I want to be able to have a scenario where if I meet certain criteria, I can at least for a match once in a while go in and not have to worry about losing that item, right? It may, and I don't want to be able to spam that because again, you take away the point of the whole mechanic, right? But like I think for certain rarities, then there should be something that's like, okay, do this really kind of arduous checklist, and then for like a match or two, you can go and have fun with it and test it out and play with it, right? And look, there's some players out there that are really good. They're like, oh, I ain't got to worry about it. I'm going to smoke everybody in the lobby. Spoiler alert, that's not me. Yeah. So, yeah, because, you know, like you said, man, like, what if I find, oh, all right, I'm going to throw another one out there for the devs. So, I've got an idea for a melee weapon. I know I've made jokes about lightsabers. I get it. I'm not getting a lightsaber, and that's okay. I will live. It's fine. It's cool. But the variants, the NFTs, a lot of them have katanas.
Yeah.
Now, I want to take that a step further and go like 80s low tech with it and say, what if you took a taser and disassembled it and kind of turned your katana with the ability to shock people like an electro katana? You know, it doesn't have to look all fancy with special VFX. It's just like a cool, maybe a couple of flickers of electricity once in a while. And maybe when you pull it out, it makes a cool taser sound or something, right? Like, so like an electro katana would be sick. So, all right, cool. Fast forward to loot. Imagine getting in the match and then, oh, sick. I killed this dude and he had a freaking katana. Oh, cool. I found this other piece over here, these parts, these weapon parts, and I can craft an electro katana if I want, right? How cool would that be? Or let's go back to guns. Let's say you find a shotgun. Not that there's too many in the game already. But let's say you found in the world, you found like a can of gasoline and a couple other things, and you're like, yo, I'm going to make some Dragon's Breath rounds from my shotgun and go into the match with that. Like, you see what I'm saying? So, like, but those kinds of ideals, in my opinion, only happen if you really diversify the loot pool. Now, I said like 1,000 guns, but I'm not, that's outside of like gadgets, gear, cosmetics, car parts, you know, and all those things. So like, let's I want to ask you a little bit more about loot before we wrap up. So like, if we're thinking about an expanded loot pool and different rarities and stuff, like give me an idea of some things you would like to see if they were to kind of lean into that some, you know?
So one thing you mentioned is melee weapons. I want to see melee weapons in the loot pool, and the way I want to see it is they all function exactly the same, but the cosmetics on them are all different. So like you said, an electrified katana or like, a baseball bat with barbed wire.
Yeah.
They're two separate melee weapons, but they should do the exact same thing.
Sure.
Everything outside of like, the combat of them should be purely cosmetic,
Hmm.
in my opinion. I don't want to see, people running around like it's Call of Duty with Cali sticks who, you know, get double the speed and they can, swing it twice as fast as the knife swings and they can lunge across the map. I don't feel like we need that, but I definitely want to see some unique melee weapons in there. Another idea I've thrown around, I really want to see some streamer items in the game. I want to see him do
Ooh.
it like Tarkov does it. So like, Tarkov has gone out of their way to make items like unique collectibles in game for some of their biggest streamers. And I mean, one of the most recent ones, Doc, got his vest added into
Yeah.
Tarkov.
Yeah, I saw that some time ago, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I want to see some stuff happen like that. I think it'd be a really cool way to, help support the community. I know they've done that a ton already, and I
Yeah.
I I might be asking for a bit much here, but I just think it's a really cool idea that, they should at least consider.
So you know what I could see being the case because they've touted UGC a lot, right? So I could see it being the case that perhaps either we create those kinds of assets ourselves or we work with people in the community that are better at, you know, Unreal than we are to make those items. And then I could see it being the case that instead of using manpower on their end, they let the community via UGC create those things. And then once we put it through the submission process, maybe at that point they work out approving it. And if there's a monetized aspect to that, you know, I could see him handling it that way rather than. But I mean, look, I mean, none of us would complain either way about it, right? Like if they decide to create them themselves or approve UGC created items that accomplish the same goal, obviously that's a huge win for the community members and you know, it's interesting because with Midnight Society and the way they've fostered this community thus far, I would not be surprised if something like that comes to fruition someday. They've just gone above and beyond to interact with us. prop us up, and really show the industry that, hey, you can make a great game alongside your community, without all the smoke and mirrors, and it's gonna be fine, right? This is
Yep.
great. This is and I think Deadrop is gonna succeed 10 times more than it would have otherwise, right?
Oh yeah.
Um, I'm sure anybody in the community could agree to that. So yeah, so you want melee weapons. I know there's a lot of people that also want melee weapons. Stash, myself included, a lot of people. But you're saying that you want it to be um, maybe not the same animations, but you're talking about like let it do like the same damage, like not having one melee weapon give you an advantage over the other melee weapon, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Now, does Valorant do stuff like that? Because I know CS:GO, it's like it doesn't matter what knife you have. It's like it's just a knife, right?
Yep, so that's exactly how it is in Valorant.
Yeah.
A melee is a melee, whether it's a baseball bat, a sword, a dagger, they all do the same damage. You just got to hit with it.
Yeah.
So everything, animation, skin wise, kill effects in there, it's all just cosmetic. And I
Yeah.
think that's a really good way to do it and keep it balanced.
I would second that. Like, because we know Henry's going to be doing some badass
Oh
animations.
yeah.
We know if melee weapons come into the game, like that dude is, he's working hard on that. So shout out to Henry for one of my favorite animations in the game so far is the new heavy pistol, man. That thing is with that
It's so
side
much fun.
twist. Woo, man. I just wish I could aim on controller, man. So here's what it is. I want to say this, like, for all the listeners that listen to Variant Intel and have heard me bitch about the controller, like God's honest truth, like, basically what it comes down to, I've nailed it down, is that Deadrop does not have aim assist currently, and um, it's the first person shooter I've ever played without aim assist. So it's been this kind of like reckoning for me, like, or maybe that's not the word, like realization of, wow, this is what it's like without all of that assistance, right?
Yep.
So uh, I don't want to say it was a self esteem booster by any chance, but it was, but it was cool to like understand fundamentally the difference, and it makes me appreciate those other games a lot more now. Um, so where I thought I was like an average 1.1 KD, really it's probably like a 0.1.
I mean,
So,
yeah, playing other games on controller where you have aim assist and then going
oh,
without it, there's such a huge difference
it's
with
way.
modern
I mean,
games.
it blows. I've been racking my brain for like two snapshots now. Like, why can I not? Like, what am I missing? What? And I'm like, no, that's what it is. It's just because the controllers for Snapshot 6 are way better than Snapshot 5. Like, I don't know what they did. They fixed the ADS bug when zooming in scopes, and
Yeah.
then all the movement and stuff. Like, it does feel noticeably better on controller. But yep, I found it. It's the aim assist, man.
It
I need it. I need it back. Please give me aim assist.
it it's coming. It's gonna
Yeah,
come. There's no doubt in
yeah.
my mind.
Well, it's also going to be on consoles one day, and
Yep.
they can't not for the casual audience.
Well, and
So,
we had confirmation during I want to say it was during the AMA that it is going to be cross-platform.
oh yeah, they are
So,
going to do that. Yeah.
I mean, I think we're gonna see a drastic shift to everybody playing controller once
Oh
aim
yeah.
assist is in the game. It's
Even
just
Cairo, dude. Even Cairo was like, dude, if they really put aim assist on controller, then guess what? I'm going controller, and I'm going to destroy everybody. I'm like, I'm, s- I'm, I'm sure you will, bud. I believe it
Yeah.
wholeheartedly, man. Just if you see me, just like wave and just understand that I'm just trying to find loot. Let me be. So anyway, all right, man. Well, no, that's about it. I think we've covered everything for today's episode. Where can people find your content, sir?
You can find my content on Twitch. I stream almost daily at Shots Will Fire. Working on some YouTube stuff. Same thing, Shots Will Fire. And then you can find me on Twitter as well.
Okay. Well, man, I really appreciate you coming on the episode, and awesome event that you just did with the community.
Thank you.
Really, really cool to see that. I got in a little bit late, but it was so much fun, and I'm glad you're a part of this community, and I hope to see you at the Snapshot 7 event. I think, yeah, you said you're going, so
I will be there.
yeah, I'll be there, man. I'll get to meet you finally. So, Anyway, that's it for today's episode. If you like what you see and you want to see more Dead Drop content with variant intel, just make sure you hit the sub button, like the video, subscribe, hit the bell notification so you don't miss out on any future episodes. And with that, we will see you in the tower. Have a good one, everybody.